Welcome back to another episode of TC Talks. I'm your host, TC, and today we're going to be breaking down the Chicago Bears victory over the Cincinnati Bengals on the road. But before we get into that, if you enjoy my content, give me a follow, subscribe, turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Let's go ahead and dive into the Chicago Bears win over the Cincinnati Bengals. To start off, this game did not go as Chicago probably anticipated. I know I was very upset when I saw this. The Chicago Bears starting the game off with a kick return for a touchdown on special teams. Not the best look, not the greatest thing for the Chicago Bears, but this would not be the only special team woes that this team would face. Late in the fourth quarter, the Cincinnati Bengals would reclaim the lead off of a onside kick recovery, which eventually led to the go-ahead score. The Chicago Bears looking a little bit sloppy on special teams in this contest. Cairo Santos on top of the miscues in defensive terms. Offensively, Cairo Santos missed a few field goals in this game, and it could have been the difference of this contest. Cairo Santos leaving those points on the board. He looked good in his return last week. This week has a few miscues. One of them looked like they were probably blocked on one of his kicks. But at the end of the day, it's something that Cairo Santos has struggled with all season, unfortunately. Chicago Bears had a lot of question marks at the kicker position. Jake Moody came in, held down the fort, gave us some good results overall as Bears fans. So hopefully that's something that can return going forward, whether it's Cairo Santos, keeping Jake Moody going, but something has to happen to have more stability at the kicker position. This is one of those situations where against a better team where you're not going to score 46 points, those 6 points can come back to haunt you if you're not able to execute. So the Chicago Bears, especially on special teams, need to focus on how to handle these miscues, not giving up kickoff returns for a touchdown, and also converting on these field goal attempts. But beyond that, the Chicago Bears defense, while they did give up a lot of points, I think they executed the game plan almost perfectly. The whole idea that I felt the Chicago Bears were going to try to go into this game was making sure that Ja'Marr Chase was not the guy that was owning them in the game. He was not going to be the offense for the Cincinnati Bengals. If the Cincinnati Bengals wanted to beat the Chicago Bears, it was going to have to be through T. Higgins and his weapons around him, Chase Brown, the whole 9 yards. And that's exactly what the Chicago Bears forced to happen. Ja'Marr Chase, not a terrible day by any metric, but T. Higgins was the big cheese in this contest for the Cincinnati Bengals. Multiple scores, tons of yards. He was an absolute monster on the field, but that's not to discredit what the Chicago Bears were doing against him. I thought Nahshon White, and also CJ Gardner-Johnson were doing a great job in coverage. If you look at those touchdowns of T. Higgins, he's basically got a defender all wrapped on him. Joe Flacco, unfortunately, able to make some expert throws, and T. Higgins with the expert soft hands, able to come up with some good catches. So it's not something that I'm terribly worried about with this Bears defense, especially given the fact that they are down so many men. But you do start to worry with the amount of offense that the Cincinnati Bengals were able to generate against this team. Fortunately, the Chicago Bears able to come up with 3 turnovers, one at the end of the game, but 2 big ones, one in the red zone with Tremaine Edmunds with an interception, but then also on a sack that the Chicago Bears actually recorded on Joe Flacco. They were able to force a fumble, and that took away a possession from Cincinnati, who was driving as well. So these are things that I think the Chicago Bears did good. It was good to see them get into the backfield, get a few sacks on Joe Flacco, but these are things that we're going to have to see week to week. It's a good start, but this is something that needs to happen continuously for the Chicago Bears. We saw last week they weren't able to generate any interceptions, any turnovers. This week they're able to start 2 when it really counted, and we saw the Chicago Bears take advantage of the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals ended up leaving points on the board because of those takeaways, and Chicago was able to take advantage. So defensively, there's some things that were good, some things that were bad, but overall, I'm not disappointed in the display that we saw from the Chicago Bears defense in this contest. They did what they could. They did a pretty good job covering everybody. It's just unfortunately when there's so much talent on the field and you are lacking so much talent, it's going to be hard for you to keep up, especially with a big name player like T. Higgins. But aside from that, the offense of the Chicago Bears came roaring to life in this contest. Not only was it the usual suspects, Caleb Williams having a good day, DJ Moore generating some contributing as well. But also, we saw Olamide Zaccheaus actually become very active in this team. I've been very questionative as to whether he was going to be a good player, a foundational player for this team. But in this contest, he definitely emerged as one of Chicago's potential threats going forward. He had a touchdown. He was looking good all over the place. He was picking up good yardage, especially since the Chicago Bears were really sharing the ball in this contest. On top of him being able to find some sort of rhythm in this game, we also saw Monangai absolutely go berserk on the Cincinnati Bengals defense. Over 150 yards on the ground. And unfortunately, no scoring, but he also was a big threat through the air as well, coming up with a few key first downs. So Monangai absolutely found his footing. He was a little bit questionable in the beginning of this season, and really up until this game, I really did not know where he was going to fit into the Chicago Bears offense. I remember the first, fourth down the Chicago Bears faced, 4th and 1 after a penalty on a Cairo Santos field goal attempt. I was really hoping that Monangai was able to pick up that first down on the rush. And what was he able to do? He was able to plow his way forward and pick up that first down. And I thought just in that moment, I'm like, that's exactly what we need him to be able to do going forward. I don't really care if he does much else. But then he gave me the much else on top of that. So Monangai obviously doing a good job as well. I hope that he's able to keep this up. It seems like the Chicago Bears, despite DeAndre Swift's production we've seen from him this season, he's been an absolute monster in some games. He's been cooler in other games. But Monangai, with all the carries he got, which is more than DeAndre Swift has had all season, he was able to absolutely tear it up. And we may have an actual running back controversy in Chicago. So we'll see what happens with that. I can't imagine that DeAndre Swift will find his way back into the lineup, though, once he is healthy. And finally, Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, a very interesting game. The first player in NFL history to have over 250 yards through the air, 50 yards on the ground, and over 20 yards receiving, all in the same game. Very interesting, nitpicky stat, but I saw it. Wasn't able to confirm it, but I do think that is one of the few situations we've seen any sort of player have that much production. 4 total touchdowns for Caleb Williams, 3 through the air, 1 as a receiver, believe it or not. But the overall feel that I have from Caleb Williams is something I felt the whole time he's been the Chicago Bears quarterback. I'm very concerned about some of the throws he makes, some of the decisions he makes, how long he holds onto the ball while he's in the pocket, how his tendency is to turn his back to the field to try to escape pressure. I understand he's trying to keep plays alive, but at the same time, I just have so many question marks with his decision. This was a good victory. This was a classic Caleb Williams putting it down in the fourth quarter to sneak away a victory, but at the same time, I feel like there was a lot left on the table from Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears offense that it really should not have come down to that final drive, but Caleb Williams able to put the knife into this game and absolutely put away for the Chicago Bears. So as much as I'd like to nitpick, as much as there's stuff to still build upon and complain about, the Chicago Bears able to sneak away with a victory in this contest, and that is all that matters. The Chicago Bears able to win when both the Packers and the Lions lose. So this is all good news as a Chicago Bears fan, and we can just hope that Ben Johnson continues to work on this team, because we saw off players making big plays in this game. Some guys that I didn't even bother looking the names up in because they haven't done anything all season. But we saw multiple guys score touchdowns. Colston Loveland stepping up after Cole Kmet went down with a concussion. DJ Moore being able to be involved as well, but not a big piece of the pie in this contest. So as long as the Chicago Bears are able to continue to build the offense, not just on their big name stars, but on their individual contributing players, I think that's going to go a long way for this team. And it definitely opens the doors for Caleb Williams to know that he could trust anybody he throws that ball to on the Chicago Bears offense. But that's about all I have for you today. Let me know what you guys think about the Chicago Bears coming away with a big-time victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. And let me know what you think is going to happen this upcoming week for the Chicago Bears as they take on Jackson Dart and the New York Giants. Until next time, see ya.